Thanks for checking out today's episode of The Experience Curve, where we explore the personal journeys of accomplished individuals, breaking down the steps they took to get where they are, which I hope just might inspire you on your own path forward. Today, I'm joined by Garrett Peters, the co-founder and CEO of Duncan Stone, a stationery company devoted to preserving life's cherished moments through the art of journaling. Epitomizes the essence of an entrepreneurial journey. Starting from modest origins in a garage, Garrett and his partners set out on a mission to carve a niche in the fiercely competitive e-commerce landscape, driven by their unwavering passion, perseverance, and sense of purpose. Throughout his career, Garrett's steadfast commitment to helping brands thrive has remained unshakable. We'll dive into how this dedication influenced his approach to previous corporate roles and continues to shape his endeavors at Duncan Stone. From those formative days laboring in their garage to mastering the complexities of e-commerce platforms, Garrett and his team encountered a multitude of challenges. Yet, through sheer determination and resilience, they transformed each obstacle into an opportunity for growth and innovation. What truly distinguishes Garrett is his unyielding dedication to family and community. Grounded in the values of love, integrity, and connection, we'll explore how Duncan Stone transformed a simple concept into a thriving enterprise that not only provides valuable products, but also leaves an indelible mark on families worldwide. Hey, what's up, Garrett? Thank you so much for taking the time today to do this show.
Absolutely, man. So glad to do it. Thanks for having me on, Joe. Shout out Haley.
Yeah.
She's the best. She's the best.
No, she's awesome. So, going back to your career, like you had these corporate jobs, right? And you decided, okay, I'm going to put everything into this company, Duncan Stone. Like, where were you in your career when you decided, did you leave the company or were you already sort of in limbo of like, I'm looking for my next gig?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. I'm sure like a lot of your listeners or a lot of folks out there, it's like, I always had this dream of starting a side business or doing something else on the side. Back up my career, I spent most of it working with Walmart and Sam's Club, actually. So here in Northwest Arkansas, where I live, and loved it. Loved working in retail, working on different brands and all of that sort of stuff, and really sales, anything related to products, basically. And so that hunger and kind of desire to start something, was in me. It's, at some point for whatever reason. And so when we decided to start Duncan Stone Paper Company in 2019, it was like, let's see if this works. I had a full-time job working for a Walmart and Sam's Club, agency here. And yeah, we launched in 2020 as a side business. And so I ran the business at the time with my wife and our two co-founders and other owners, and was doing it nights and weekends and any other time I could, basically, until I fully committed to jumping in 2021. And so I took the full plunge in 2021 and left my full-time job to do the business. So.
Oh, okay. So you actually left. So you said, okay, you know what? I believe in this enough, because I know Duncan Stone is like an intersection, right? Where the streets near where you all are.
Yeah, for sure. It was already going. And so when we, started the business, it was like, I was kind of like, let's see what happens. Can this become, in my mind, I was like, maybe this could be a full-time thing one day and we could really go for it. But when we came up with the brand, in the company, it was really around the connection of Stephanie and Sarah. Stephanie's my wife, and Sarah, one of our best friends. They used to work together at the corner of Duncan Stone. And so when we started thinking about building a brand or starting a business, it kind of came back to that relationship that they had started years ago. And I had nothing to do with the name of our brand, thankfully, and Sarah and Stephanie were like, let's call it Duncan Stone. And they're really the face of the business and come up with all of our product ideas and all that stuff. And so that's kind of how it originated.
Yeah. So for you taking that leap to say, okay, I'm going to leave my job. And again, you said it just kind of started. Like, what were your thoughts going into it? You must have believed in it enough to say, like, obviously this is worth it. But what was the state of the company at that point? I know you were all in a garage at some point.
Yeah. That's a great question, man. I mean, we launched a business out of our house. I mean, we started as an e-commerce business and kind of had that vision similar to Haley and One With, as we wanted to start an e-commerce company. We really had no idea what the heck we're getting into. We could get into some of that, as far as the skill set and how we scaled the business. But, at the time we knew we wanted to run an online business, and we were shipping products out of your garage, so we did that for a real long time actually. And we were just fully like, it's a bootstrap, family run business. My wife and I, we have 3 kids. And at the time, I think my youngest was, my oldest, I should say, was probably like, 7 or 8 years old. He was out there packing boxes with us and just doing everything, I mean, we were just trying to figure it out and scrape by. And, and I think that for what my perspective in it was like, hey, I would love for this to become a full-time thing, that if the business grew in a way that demanded me to work on it more, then, we really have something. And, I just, for whatever reason, was like, I didn't feel comfortable enough initially to jump in and go full-time into it. When we launched in 2020, I was just like, let's see what happens. And thankfully it grew to the spot where I needed to jump in full-time. But yeah, I mean, we were all dreaming and envisioning something happening with the brand, and just thankfully it happened, so I was able to make the jump.
Yeah. So obviously all hands on deck with the family getting this started.
Absolutely.
But like for you coming from this corporate world with all those years of experience, like, and again, with 4 of you there, and they're all not here to kind of answer for themselves, but like, I guess, in you specifically, what do you think the strengths you brought, like, to complement the other 3, members in this company?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think thankfully we all bring unique kind of roles and really strengths to the business, and that's been the case. I think part of the reason we've been successful is, as a ownership group of 4 people, like, that could potentially create a lot of challenges, right? And we've definitely had our share of disagreements and conflict we had to work through. But, where Sarah on our team, one of our co-founders, is the visionary, the creative director. She's the marketing guru. She's the one designing our products and really casting the vision for where the brand fit in the market. And Stephanie was like helping her, but also like she's been managing our manufacturing relationships and our inventory planning and all these other sort of pieces behind the scenes, where I kind of stepped in as like, I want to figure stuff out. I want to figure out how to set up all of our systems, our website, our Amazon, brand registry stuff, like all of the little intricate details of the business running, like I was passionate about. And so I kind of brought that call it just grit of, I want to figure it out. Like, no one knew how to do most of the things that, we have from a setup perspective, for sure. The first year or 2 of our business, of like, no one had an e-com background. Right. So it's like, who's going to figure this out? And I was like, well, I guess I'll do it. And so whenever the first year was 2020 going into 2021. So like I left right at about year 1 of us selling goods. Right. So the timing was interesting because Sarah and Stephanie are both stay-at-home moms at the time too. So they're like, we have little ones at home, and they're going, we can't go full-time into this business. Our other partner and owner, Garland, has a full-time job doing something else. He operates kind of as an owner and, is involved in strategy and all these things, but he's not involved in the day-to-day. And it kind of was like all signs point to Garrett jumping in to do that, which was fine, which was great. I mean, like, I was all for it, let's go figure this thing out and grow the business. And so that's kind of what I did, jumped in and really still do that today. So.
Yeah, and I was thinking when you said 2020, because there's obviously state by state things were different, right? And you being an e-commerce business from the garage, you weren't in person, whatever. How much did that play a part of like the global, what was going on everywhere? And you're like, oh man, do I quit the job? What if this is a really bad idea? Did you ever have those kind of thoughts go through your head?
Yeah, totally, man. That's a great question. I mean, what an interesting time to launch an online business. What was funny, man, is we look back, and the first kind of group of items we launched with were around, pregnancy journaling, childhood memory books. Our brand is built on, keepsake memory books, right? And so capturing moments and all those sorts of things. Well, a lot of people were home, in 2020 and going, it might be nice to start that kid book that I never got around to doing. And so for whatever reason, we chose those items to start with and launch. And Sarah and Stephanie have always done a great job at items that we create. And so we were just lucky enough I think for a lot of people, we're at home, and I think that we got the benefit of that in 2020. But for me personally, like it allowed me to, we're operating out of our garage, right? And so it's not like I'm having to commute now back and forth from my office. And so one, it was very chaotic. We have three kids at home, launching a business in 2020. Now I'm working from home. Oh, also our kids are at home now, so that's really cool. That's great. And we got to homeschool them now, which was a complete disaster. And so I'm like, it in some ways it was definitely chaotic, like it was for most people. But for me, now I get to go outside. If I have a break during the day, I can go fulfill some orders. I can go follow up with some customers. And so I think in some way it allowed me to stay connected to the setup of Duncan and Stone. And, that early first year of our business was kind of allowed me to be there and work on it, which was nice.
Yeah, I mean, getting the time with your family is, and just again, like you said, to save the commute time. Who knows what everyone's commute is depending on the city they're in, but it's not nothing, no matter who, right? No matter what you're doing.
For sure. I mean, what wild times.
Yeah, it was. That's what I was gonna say. Like, who knows what's gonna happen? No matter what path you took, if you stayed, who knows? Maybe they were letting people go if you started your own, right? So it worked out the way it worked out. But like when you came aboard, had the obviously keepsakes, right, was already established. Was like the name, the logo, overall aesthetics. Was that all sort of determined at that point?
It was, yeah. And so we spent most of 2019 when we started like conceptualizing starting a business. The year of 2019 for us as a team was getting the business set up, and we had to set up our corporation and all the legal stuff and getting all the stuff that comes with setting up a business in place, and we get a website and we get a domain, and I started the trademark process of getting our trademark and all of that list of stuff that needed to get done. We were doing that in 2019. And so when we launched in 2020 with our first kind of round of products, we did have our website live. We had our Amazon kind of store set up, and our products were ready to go. And so the brand itself was there for sure when we launched, and our team does a really good job with that stuff. Sarah crushes it as far as the, Duncan and Stone as a brand and how we're represented out there in the interwebs, and all of that stuff was already in place.
So you're kind of have this role now, obviously, right, as CEO of this company. What is like your typical day like from, the chaos to has it calmed down to where it's kind of in a flow now, or is there still things where it's like week to week it's just changing with the way things go?
Man, that's a phenomenal question. And that has changed for me over the last few years, so I think we should do, all the CEOs of like startup companies should do like a video of a day in the life of a CEO of a startup. I was just talking to another founder earlier today who she runs her own business too. And we were just laughing at like just the chaos that you get into. Man, I mean, today it looks a lot different. So I'll give you a quick snapshot of what it looks like today. I think that because we have built our business in a way that we're trying to find the right people to outsource stuff to over time. I think that we learned that pretty early on, the first, year or two of our business, where it was like the more that we scaled and grew, the more stressed we were as an ownership team of like, we were just doing so much, it was like everything was coming through the 4 owners, and we're just killing ourselves growing this business, which it was like, we all had to stop and go, whoa, what are we actually doing? And how are we building this thing? This is unsustainable. This is not good. So, it took us down a path over the last few years of finding great partners, great agencies that we can work with, or contractors to support us and things like that. And happy to get into some of that if you're interested for your listeners, like what does that look like for us? But I mean, we knew that we weren't good at a lot of things on our business. I think we were talking earlier before we hit go, like you don't know everything, so we learned quickly, like there's a lot of stuff regarding our business and we weren't great at. Things like paid advertising, digital marketing, email marketing management, SEO, like you name it. Like there's a lot of things that we hire out. So back to your question, a day for me, it's a lot of like strategy, checking in on kind of our contractors. What do they make sure they have everything they need? Are we going down the right path? I'm talking with our team all the time about Like right now, we're working on a couple new items that we're about to get printed and bring those over. So there's a lot of that. I'm also doing a lot of the financial work with our, with our team. So I'm in our finances quite a bit, tracking our inventory. I mean, I just got off a call a few minutes ago with somebody to talk about TikTok shops. And so I'm like, that's something that we're not doing a lot of, that I need to learn how to, like, what does that look like for our brand and how do we do that well? So the type of things that I do day to day can vary, but I also still do customer service. So I need to get that off my plate. So there's I feel like a million different things that happen a lot or happen day to day in my world. But anyway, we're having fun doing it. I think thankfully, one thing I will say, like, as we have found great partners that have taken things off of our plate, one of those being fulfillment. So back to the early days of when we launched and we're packaging out of our garage, like, thankfully that doesn't happen today. I mean, I'd be dead at this point. I mean, truly, like, if I was having to fulfill all the orders, like, it was just I did it for so long, by the way. And so, like, I still have PTSD, like, thinking about it. But I mean, I think that we had a lot of mentors around us saying, like, hey, the CEO shouldn't be fulfilling orders. Like, you have an issue with your business if that's the case. And so we had to fix that. And thankfully I don't have to do it anymore. So
Exactly right. Yeah, it does get to be, I think, for people in the beginning, you don't really know who you can trust, maybe. So you think, well, I guess one, you're learning. So you're like, okay, I need to understand this from the bottom up. So doing it yourself is a great way to do it. You sometimes get in that trap of, like, either you don't want to give it up or you don't know how to give it up or what, right? So you're kind of stuck. Like,
100%.
yeah. So, like, you guys had started with these, like, keepsake books, right? And then sort of expanded from there. Is that sort of like, was that based on sales, or was that based on, we just want to grow before there was a demand?
We knew we wanted to be in the space of prompted keepsake and memory keeping, business. And so, like I said, the first year we were doing things like pregnancy journals and childhood keepsake books and recipe books and things that were kind of in our wheelhouse, and our teams, like, I mean, Sarah and Stephanie are using these sorts of products, right? And this is like our world. I think we learned quickly, one, from customer feedback. Like, we had a lot of customers starting to reach out to us to say, hey, do you also make so-and-so, or, a product idea or whatever it may be. So there was a lot of that, customer feedback, which we love, and we get a lot of customer feedback, which is great a lot of times, but a lot of times it's kind of hilarious, feedback.
What would you mind talking, like, through that? Or
I mean, yeah, I think that we have a lot of people ask Joe about, like, pet journals. I mean, pet owners, pet parents out there of the world, they love those pets. So they're like, I need a book for keeping memories with my dog. That's great. That's amazing. But maybe not. Who knows? Maybe there is a market for that. I don't know, but no, there's some funny ones that get thrown out there. But I mean, so that's one piece, is customer feedback. But we've always been big fans of different software, like, tools that we can look and see how are people selling on Amazon. Hey, this is a interesting item that I just found. Oh, wow, there's a lot of search for that, or there's not a lot of competition in that space. Maybe we could start to create something in that world. So, we had a framework for memory keepsakes and giftable types of goods. And so I think over time, we've just gotten better and better at finding unique spaces that are seeing great search or people are interested in, and then creating products that are branded under the Duncan Stone kind of brand of kind of timeless, very high quality, like, very elegant looking products. And if you go check out all our stuff, it's, like, very clean, and that's the way that we built the brand. So we'll create products and sell them in that space. And yeah, we've seen success with it, but we have a couple of good partners that we work with that are always, like, helping us do research, say, hey, this could be an opportunity for you to do, and we'll pursue it. So
how about, like, when someone comes up with an idea, obviously expanding beyond the child, journal, keepsakes and stuff, like keepsake books, I should say. how does that like a new idea come to life? Like, is it a brainstorming that you all do, or is it sometimes just someone brings something to the table and you all kind of vote? How does that sort of, is it a democracy, when new products come?
I get a very small vote on our team. So they don't, they, as CEO, I get a very small vote regarding anything design or like creative. And honestly, probably should be that way because Sarah and Stephanie on our team are the real like brand visionaries and creative minds around products. But I'll give you a couple examples. So like first of this year, we had an offsite for our team and we cover a lot of different things. And it's like, we're planning for the next year, a couple years where we're going, all sorts of, there's 2 days of like planning. And a big chunk of that is new product innovation and development. And so leading up to that, Sarah is doing a lot of research. We're looking at Etsy. We're looking at competitors on Amazon. We're looking at new journal companies that are out there and types of items. So like we have a huge list of things that are options. And then we just kind of filter as a team first, what are the 4 or 5 that would fit well within our brand? So, right now, like we offered a reading journal now that is one of our new items that we launched last year. Originally, I was like, who the heck is going to buy a reading journal? What is a reading journal anyway? And Sarah's like, there's a big market for that and reading groups, and people who are avid readers are capturing this stuff. And like, okay, wow, I didn't even know that. Because if I would have had a vote, I'd be like, no, screw the reading journal. Like, what are we doing? But we took that. So we'll dwindle down that list and then use one of our agencies to do a deep dive into Amazon, whatever data they can get out there that's available to look at. Hey, this is how much volume they're doing. Here's their pricing. Here's what they're offering. And then we'll kind of use that to go, okay, this is the right next step for us. Let's go create a journal in this space. And so this kind of a multi-layer type of thing. We try to use as much data as we can. I mean, we've had items that we thought were going to be great, that it didn't end up being great items, that were just kind of, they just didn't perform very well. And that's okay. You kind of live and learn. We try not to be as just gut instinct as we can be. I think that our team does a really good job of getting a feel for what item might work best for our customer. But, obviously we want to do what's best for them, and we want to launch stuff that's going to perform well, and so there's cycles too with it. Like some of our items that we launched, years ago aren't doing as good now. You know what I mean? So there's kind of some like consumer trends, things that are happening too, that make an impact for some of those items too.
So a lot of it's like data driven, and then I guess it could be right. Like there's a shelf life on certain things as well, depending on the product. But how about like when you actually get, okay, we're going to go forward with this. You come up with like does someone manufacture like a prototype, so to speak?
Yeah. We do all the design in-house. We design the product, and Sarah on our team has been doing that the last few months. And so like take the example I was just using. So let's decide on a couple items. Say we do that in January. She'll take 2 or 3 months as part of her role of design. It takes some time for her to artwork and layouts and research, and she does a ton of stuff that goes into the product design. And so she designs it all. And we have a manufacturer overseas that we use and have partnered with. We've been with them since the beginning. So, 4 plus 5 plus years now. They're amazing. And we'll work through colors. We'll work through, sizing. We'll work through all sorts of stuff with them over a period of, a month, let's say. We'll go a lot of back and forth, but then we'll get live samples done, and we'll get a couple kind of dummy, quote unquote, dummy looking journals. And once we feel good about that, we'll move forward with printing it in bulk, basically. And so the way that we've done our business, is we'll print, depending on the type of journal, we'll print larger runs, obviously, to save for, on cost of goods, for us to try to print as much as we can. But we like to test stuff. So like we'll launch a couple items and see how they do. And if they perform well, we'll order a lot more of them. So thankfully we have a great partnership, with our printing partner, and it's high quality. The QC is very good. We have thankfully not had any sort of like major hiccups with them, over the years. And so yeah, that's been pretty solid.
So, like you did mention that a few times with outside partners, printing, whether it's design. How in the beginning were you doing that? How are you kind of tackling that when you're like, all right, we want to try something out, but we don't know anyone, we don't have any partners. How do you find them and cultivate those relationships?
And I think for a lot of people that are wanting to start something or have a vision for starting something, like that can kind of be the overwhelming. That's an overwhelming thought of like, where do I start? Like, what do I do? Where do I go? Man, I think that for a couple things for us, like we just try to network as much as we could. So like anybody that I knew or was connected to that knew anything about the paper goods industry. Like when we were said, let's start a journal business in 2019, dude, no one knew what the heck we were doing. I mean, like we didn't know where to start. And so I just started looking through my network of people I've worked with before. Oh, this guy worked at this company. Maybe he knows somebody that can teach me or show me who to get in contact with. And so we just went down as a team, like multiple different paths of take manufacturing, for instance. And so we're talking to people in the US and people in India and people in wherever. And so it's like we're just kind of like exploring options early on. And I think that we were just leaning on any sort of connection that we had or network that we had that we could tap into. So that was key. I think that's still key for us and for folks listening, that like you got to develop some thick skin too. I mean, honestly, that's like you got to just press through the awkwardness of just reaching out to somebody or asking for something. I think that I learned that in 2019 of, man, I just had to start asking people, hey, do you know somebody in this space or whatever? Like we've never gotten on any sort of like Alibaba or whatever you want to call it, whatever those sites are out there to like find people. I know people that do, like, hey, if you want to source something, there's plenty of like places to go find people to source stuff, I'm sure. But that was just never something we had to do, thankfully, just because we got connected to a couple people that guided us through that. But I can't emphasize that enough. Like for us, that was so huge for me, like for us starting the business, man, I just had to lean on some people to direct us and guide us. And so when we're starting our website, I'm like, what kind of website do I do? What do I need? If I want to sell stuff online, what do I do? Oh, Shopify. Yay. What's Shopify? Okay, cool. Let's set that up. How do we do that? And so you just start learning stuff as you're going, and then you develop some skills and some know-how of how to do all that stuff. And so I love talking to people that are starting a side hustle. I'm like, yeah, heck yeah, let's do it. What are you working on? Let's figure it out. Cause I was right there. And I'm like, it feels overwhelming, but it's not that difficult to start something, just taking some steps to do it. But anyway, we let networking relationships, man. Those are the biggest ones.
Yeah. So, and you did mention a couple times like Amazon, Etsy, your website, even like Shopify, all these, platforms have different, whether it's algorithms, rules, best practices, right? As you're learning this in the beginning, Amazon, I think you said, was a significant portion of the revenue you generate. Like, how do you stand out on these platforms being like a newcomer?
Oh boy, that's good. I mean, it's a slow burn on some of them, I feel like. And so, for us, we made the decision, for better or worse, to launch on Amazon. Love Amazon. I mean, we have a great partnership with them, and it's still our biggest channel today is Amazon. But man, I think that if I rewind back to that time, I didn't have really the connections or the know-how to build a brand from scratch to like through our website. And so, we made the decision, let's launch on Amazon. It's got the biggest, kind of reach that we have and biggest audience. So let's do that, and let's do it the right way. So I think for us, we wanted to have a registered brand on that channel in particular, and be set up as a registered brand because it gives access to different content and different sort of things in the Amazon kind of world. And we were just leaning on feedback that we were getting from people that were doing it out there. So, I mean, I was just doing all I could to learn about Amazon, to learn about Etsy, to learn about Shopify, a direct-to-consumer website, like all these things. I was just like, okay, we have to have these things set up. Do we need to do that? Do we need to hire somebody else to do that? I think for us, standing out early on was making sure our listings were top notch, making sure our pictures were top notch, like making sure we had the right lifestyle images and the right overview videos and all that stuff. Like, do if you were going to go search a playbook for like launch an item online, like we're just trying to do that, like, okay, we need to have these sorts of things for each of our listings. And, the cool thing about Amazon, for instance, or online business is just you have that flywheel effect that gets going and in place. And so like you're getting more and more views and you're getting reviews and you're getting people to search and buy and all these things. And it just starts to kind of flow and happen. And yeah, like I said, I mean, just leaning on experts out there in the industries that we were in and just saying, okay, I'm going to do that. Whatever you're telling me to do, I'm just going to do that. Now, we've also hired some people, or like after we launched on Amazon, it was like, oh crap, there are things that we know we should do, but we're not able to do them. We're just technically not savvy enough to do those things. Okay, we need an agency to step in. Let's take all our listings to the next level. Let's do better. Let's make sure our brand store is better. Make sure our advertising is doing better. Let's take them to the next level. So the more that we grew, the more it was exposing us, like as a team, to go, okay, we're actually not experts in that. I need to find them. I hope that answers that question. It's a great question because it's a crowd. Like it can be crowded, man. I mean, how do you stand out against a competitor who's has a similar item? I mean, that's a legit question. We've always leaned on very high quality content, very relevant keywords, all the SEO type of stuff, all of those sorts of pieces we've had in place on the business.
And like, I guess now that you mentioned agencies, is it in your mind finding a local agency more beneficial than maybe something in a bigger market than you're in that has a lot more experience, or do you like that more homegrown approach to your partner there?
Man, that's a great question. I don't know if I have an answer full of conviction for that necessarily, but we found a few partners early on that were local to us. And so, as we were launching our business and, the first year or two of us doing it, we found a lot of great feedback from different people, friends, family, even that we were connected to, that helped us get set up. I mean, we really truly did. And we're so thankful for whether it was paid or unpaid, kind of like advice or work. Like it was incredibly valuable for us as a team. I mean, so I think early on for us in particular, like having that local kind of piece was super helpful. And we still do. Like our fulfillment team is actually local to us, and our warehouse is here, which it doesn't have to be, but for us, it's kind of nice to know that like we can go get our products at any time and go look at them and see them or whatever. But now the more that we continue to grow, and obviously working in a digital age and being able to talk to anybody, you based in California, like, and me over here in Arkansas, like you can run a business from anywhere in the world now. So I think that, a handful of our partners are outside of our hometown for sure. So we have people that work on the business around the world, at this point, which is super fun, and tons of, pros for sure, for the way that our business is set up. But I mean, I think I can make an argument either way, truthfully, but I think for us, the local aspect was huge early on, and kind of nice and convenient to have somebody like in your backyard, like really rooting for you and helping you early on, which was really nice.
Yeah. Well, and then what about like when because your site does offer like wholesale opportunities, so when you're sort of like, again, first time out, you're probably like, what am I even doing? But like once you kind of like get into it and you're trying to find partners, right? Is it something where you're considering them based on like how mutually beneficial the partnership is, or at the beginning, or are you just looking for like, oh wow, this person wants to be a wholesaler, great, like let's just do it?
Yeah, I think that we're fairly selective with some of that, man. I mean, we do have a wholesale business that I don't know if you're familiar with Fair. It's a interesting, cool wholesale kind of a retailer out there. Basically, it connects stores to brands like Duncan Stone. It's actually really sweet. We've been selling on that site for a long time now, and I have a handful of friends that have great businesses on Fair. That's become our primary wholesale channel. For us, it's still a pretty small portion of our business, and we don't have any sort of big retail business or big box retail business or anything like that. But we have a lot of amazing customers out there throughout the US that are selling our products, which are really fun. But, there's, we try to be as selective as we can at times, but I mean, if there's a wholesale, opportunity, it's hard for me to pass up. I'm like, shoot, let's do this. Let's get our products out there, right? I mean, for us as a growing brand, it's like we need more and more people to be aware of Duncan and Stone Paper Company, and see our products. And so it's like, hey, if you want to put those in your boutique store or whatever it may be, why not? Like, let's get our name out there.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I mean, like I said, you want to cast a wide net, probably, especially in the beginning, and then as it builds, right? And I think you said in the right, yes, earlier today you were on with like a TikTok shop potential, right? And like you bring up like social media, right? Like we talked a little bit offline. You kind of do stuff, but like what is more about the brand, right? Like in your company, you're not the social media, but you do have like social media partners, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
How would something like a partnership with someone who's like I'm assuming an influencer, work with a brand like yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we haven't quite cracked the code on that. I mean, we are like, I've been hearing about influencer marketing, I feel like, for years now. And there's a lot of people that do it really well out there, other brands, and we definitely have not cracked that code yet. I mean, we've seen a lot of great organic kind of partnerships and content creators that have come about over the last couple of years for sure. And we see some great stuff, but man, we're just in the process of learning kind of how to do that. And so there's a handful of great tools and softwares out there already that we're looking into. So this last year we were like, hey, we definitely need to be set up on TikTok. Like, we need to have a TikTok presence. We've always done Instagram and Facebook and that sort of stuff, but let's get set up on TikTok as a brand. And we've done that. And now this whole TikTok shops thing is here, and it's like trying to learn about all that stuff. And it seems like the more and more stuff I see out there, it's like people are doing great with it. I'm not personally on it, so it's like I'm not doing any sort of social media stuff. Like, I got other stuff to do, but all I keep hearing is like, hey, this is working for us, or hey, you need to be doing this. And so we're kind of in this investigation stage, I feel like, right now, on what does partnership look like with influencers? What is the sweet spot for us and our products, that where it would make sense and fit? And really, what's the structure look like? I mean, we've done plenty of like sample giveaways and asking people to post about us and things like that. But, there's really tons of different paths we could go down, I feel like. And so we're just trying to explore what is the best for us. I mean, we've been so diligent the last few years of setting up our business on these channels where we sell, and being very good at like selling on those channels. We haven't done a lot of really formal stuff offsite from those. And so whether it's influencer marketing, paid content sort of stuff, but man, we're trying to figure it out. Matt, if you have any tips or tricks, like, let me know where I should go.
No, because your brand, it definitely has like a very refined, like I thought it was a company that was around for decades, right? When you look at it. Yeah. So like, very Instagrammable, I would imagine, in that regard. So when you're trying to tackle a new like TikTok where you think, oh, it's like, 15-year-old kids dancing, like how do we kind of fit this brand? But then it's not even the case anymore.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy. What's funny, man, is like an ownership team and our it's like, what kind of content are we gonna create? So it's more about, there definitely is a play there. I mean, just because we have a family run business, we and started out of our garage. And so I'm sure there's plenty of like content that we could put out there in the world, but it's more of a matter of like, we want it to be connect with people and consumers. We don't want to be just like I don't know, like a kind of a random brand that's like out there just posting random crap. And so we've been very diligent over the years to kind of protect the architecture and the kind of feel of how we're perceived out there. And we're trying to be a high quality, like, giftable company that people can trust. And so, yeah, we just haven't quite figured it out. We know it's a thing. I mean, we truly do. Like, it's wild, some of the numbers I've seen from like sales numbers that these brands are doing through some of these channels. It's crazy, but we just haven't quite figured it out.
No. I mean, it's, it's just always, you always have to be learning, right? Because technology is always going to change, and this thing that's popular this year, you have to relearn something different next year, right? So,
For sure. Yeah, yeah, exactly, man.
but I think your brand definitely, again, you can evolve and adapt to anything, but it definitely has that very strong, warm, you just kind of feel like it's a trustworthy brand when you just visit your site for the first time, right? So,
No, I appreciate that, man.
yeah, no,
That's the
no.
time we've tried to do that. That's great feedback. I'm going to share that with our team. That's great feedback, man. I love that.
Well, and on your, I think it's your LinkedIn. I think it says something about you're like passionate about helping brands succeed.
Hmm.
So, like, how did that passion influence, like, maybe your approach to corporate roles you had, but then into this role you're in now? And I don't want to speak for you. Maybe this product line was not something that you were too familiar with, or maybe you were because you're obviously you're married into it. But how does that play a role? Like, you being passionate about helping brands succeed, does that drive you to, like, okay, I want to see this company? And you even mentioned about helping others, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, a couple things like working with brands that were selling to Walmart and Sam's Club. Like I got to work with big companies that were established and old and kind of startups and all sorts of companies in between. And so I think that the passion of a founder is really powerful. Like the passion of somebody who's created a product. I mean, I'm thinking back to Haley's story again of her starting her brand in her condo like living room floor. It's like I love that. I love the energy and passion that people have for their products. And so I got to spend many years, before I did the business full time of going to help those companies win at Walmart and Sam's Club, which was super fun. I want to help them grow and succeed in a very challenging place of dealing with the biggest retailer in the world. Like, how fun is that? But so I think that was kind of something in me that I carried into starting Duncan and Stone was, man, I just had this hunger to like try to reach as many people as possible. Like, I love hearing the stories that we get to read and reviews that we get to see of how people are using our products. It's so powerful. It's really cool. And I think now that I'm a few years in and a little more established, like we're 4 or 5 years into this business. And so we at least have a base, of some stability. I'm now looking around the kind of environment that I'm in and saying, hey, I want to help other people succeed. Oh, like I love getting connected to people that are like, I started this company and I don't really know where to go. Like, can you please talk to me? Heck yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about what you could do. And so I love that. I love hearing stories of people like how they got into launching a business or running a business or whatever it may be. I think it's fascinating. Like product stories are the best. They're so cool. I know what it's like now to be in the trenches, like early on trying to start a business. And so I think I can empathize with somebody who's like, hey, we have a product, but we're not seeing any traction. Is this worth it? What do we do? Oh my gosh, like it's just hard. It's a really challenging thing, whether it's a product company or whatever business you're in. Those early years are very formative. And it's like, there's something about that I really resonate with. And so I'm like, just have a heart for them. It's just kind of fun to get behind them and try to help them succeed.
Yeah, and that's what people need, right? When they're getting started is, like you said, don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to reach out to people you don't know, and don't think they're going to make you feel stupid or you're going to feel like a fool, because you never know. That person could be like an amazing mentor in your life just because you took you had the right, you went out there and just did it.
You had the audacity to do it. Yeah, put your name out there.
See, someone listening now is in the boat you were in 2019, 2020. What would you say like your biggest obstacles or challenges were? You did touch on a lot, obviously, about in the beginning, PTSD and things like that, right? Like when you're kind of launching a product, what would you say for someone listening? Like, these are going to be your biggest obstacles.
A couple of things that stand out, Joe, when I think back to that season. One in particular is like not being defined by the success of your business. It's like a very challenging thing to do, I feel like, as a entrepreneur or business owner. I think that I really went through a season in 2021. Once I left my business to work on our business full time, I was just a maniac about it. I feel like I was just like, we got to figure this out. We got to do it. We got to, I was just everything about it. I just got wrapped up in the success of, we have to be successful. We have to grow, to a place that was unhealthy. And so I think the feedback I would say, especially early on, is try to, as much as you can, separate, who you are like as a person, your life and your world separate from the thing you're doing. I think that's always a challenge probably for us. And then regardless of whether you're starting a business or not. Right. But I had to learn that the hard way, of like spending a year, like really so obsessed with this thing called Duncan Stone Paper Company, like that I had to eventually kind of go, okay, even if this thing fails, like, I'm okay. Like, that doesn't ruin my life. I have to define who I am outside of that thing. So that's one for sure that comes to mind, and I think is relevant for anybody, regardless of their stage. And then two is surround yourself with a team. I think I hear a lot of other founders, if you're a solo kind of like entrepreneur, whatever it may be, it's lonely. It's really challenging. And so whether that's business partners, like formally, or some sort of team that you can get around is really key, I think. So community is really important for sure, those first kind of early years, early stage. And we're regardless of stage, but I would say early on, having a support and community around you is huge.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And you being, a clearly a family guy, right? Like the kids, your wife, right? I'm going to ask you on not a negative question, but like some people might say like, oh, I don't know if I'd go into business with my spouse, like that's kind of like, I want the personal and the work to be separate. Like, how about like advice you might give someone like now that you've been in it for some years, going into business with their spouse?
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's not for everyone. I would say be very cognizant of how you're wired, how your relationship looks like with your spouse, whatever it may be. I mean, we sought a lot of counsel early on, honestly, and we went into business with some of our best friends. And so it was like, you got your spouse, and you got two couples, two married people, two separate married people coming into business together. Potential recipe for disaster, for sure. When we first started, I was like, maybe this isn't the right thing. Like, I don't want to get into this, and then years later we're divorced and don't have any friends. Like, that would be crappy, right? I mean, so I'm just going, hey, how do we build this in a way that we can have healthy relationships? So the advice I'd give to somebody is like, get mentorship, get some guidance on that, and then just really be very truthful about how you're wired. Don't, if it's not going to work, don't try to force it. Don't try to force something that really isn't there. I mean, my wife and I work really well together, and we have different strengths, and she puts up with my shenanigans all the time. And so it's, thankfully I knew that going in. So I'm like, okay, she's going to be able to handle my craziness as we're starting this business. So I was like, let's do it. Let's go for it. But man, I will say this, like those that are in business together with your spouse or family or whoever it may be, boundaries. Oh my gosh. Like, boundaries have to be in place. Like, 'cause for us, it'd be easy for us to talk about the business 24/7, put our kids down. It's like, okay, let's look at the business, or let's talk about it. And that would be easy to do. And we definitely talk about the business probably more than we would like to at times, but just saying, hey, this isn't going to be like a full-time, all the time sort of deal. So let's make sure that we're building in healthy rhythms in our life that allow us to disconnect from this thing that we have going.
No, that's great advice.
Yeah. Harder said than done at times, for sure. But I mean, listen, everyone goes through different seasons, but keeping that kind of top of mind for sure. And so it doesn't become overwhelming, I think it's key.
Yeah. And on the other side, right? Like a lot of people do say, all right, I want to start my own business because I want to eventually be my own boss, make my own schedule, not clock in. How is like entrepreneurship for you allowed you to maybe achieve that goal, or maybe freedoms, opportunities that maybe, and I'm not saying you were lacking it in your previous day job or corporate job, but maybe what have you gained from that in terms of getting time back with your family and just overall happiness?
What you just asked is something I think about all the time. I mean, I truly do. I think that was part of the reason that we started the business in the first place. It really was like when we started the business, we had a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old at the house. And so I was looking at their life and I'm going, how much time am I going to actually be able to spend with these little humans? Like, really? Like, how much time? And I had a good job. I liked my job, but also I'm all going, well, it's kind of sucks being home at whatever time it was and then see them for a little bit and they're getting put down for bed. It just didn't settle well with me. And so I'm like, I want to figure out a way to engineer my life in a way that I can spend more time with my kids. And, thankfully, luckily, we were able to get that figured out, over the last few years. And so that was a big part of our why, was like why we started the business, was that like we wanted freedom to be able to take them into school every day and pick them up from school every day and play basketball with my son in the afternoon if he wants to play basketball, like whatever it may be. Like, I wanted to have freedom in my schedule that allowed me to do that. Now, I will say it's not it's not always the case, right? I mean, the challenge with running your own business is also, it can become a full-time, like you might be at home maybe or whatever and have flexibility, but you're always doing something on the business, right? So I know plenty of people that it's like they run their own business and they still don't see their family. So it doesn't necessarily equate, but I think for me, it's allowed me to be able to invest in key relationships. And I think that for me has been very good with my wife, with my kids, with other organizations that I get to kind of be a part of, or whatever it may be. It's allowed me to do that, which has been super fun.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, your kids will only be 7, 5, and 2 once, right? So you want to make sure you're there for all that as much as you can be. And I get it. Yeah, a lot of people do. They have their business and they just kind of shut themselves in the basement. And 12 hours later, it's like, oh, everyone's asleep, and then they're go for school tomorrow, and then they see them just for 5 minutes and they're back to work. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, but you can sort of take those, or just maybe having more vacation time or weekends, or however you structure your lifestyle. You're trying to buy back the time always, and it's you're never going to regret it.
Well, no doubt. I mean, it depends on the I think for everybody, it comes down to what matters most to you, right? I mean, is it whatever it may be? Your listeners have different lives all over the board, right? So, for us, for our family, it was like we valued that time with our kids and we wanted some flexibility and freedom to invest time in particular and resources elsewhere. So let's try to build our life in a way that allows to do that. But it also varies. It's not a one size fits all, So I think the hard part a lot of times is defining the why, defining like what truly matters, and also what's reasonable, So I love talking about that stuff and thinking about that stuff. So it's a great question, man.
Yeah. No, we're on the same page there. How about the company in general, like aspirations, goals for the future? Like where do you want to see this company go and grow?
I mean, we're 4 or 5 years in to running the business and starting Duncan Stone. A couple things come to mind. Different marketplaces. So we're actually working on some different expansion kind of plans into the UK, into Canada, and a couple other areas like that, which is super fun. So it's really expansion of the brand, more marketplaces, kind of, we want to continue to grow our business, but in a healthy way, if that makes sense. And so healthy for us is like, we're not trying to scale and become a $1 billion company and sell it and, whatever. Like, we're not a $1 billion company, just to be clear.
Not yet.
not yet. Exactly. So like for us, we're trying to build kind of a sustainable business, and, who knows what the future holds for for like an acquisition one day and all of that. But we're just trying to build like a healthy, sustainable brand that we enjoy working on and kind of continue to grow. And so we continue to see great growth. And so we're trying to sustain that.
And how about like for people who are listening, want to connect with your brand? Obviously, you mentioned you're on Amazon, but what are you, duncanandstone.com?
You got it. Nailed it, man. Nailed it. Duncanstone.com. You can find us there. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn if you're into that. So hit me up on LinkedIn or reach out. Love to do that. But yeah, you can find our email on our website if you want to reach out, but duncanandstone.com. You nailed it.
Cool, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for the time today, Garrett. I really enjoyed getting to know you. I mean, it's been an hour, but I mean, you're a very like insightful guy that has a lot of just cool things that you bring to the table. And I think that the four of you putting how you put it together is working so far. So I'm, excited to see how this company just continues to thrive. And I think that what you've been doing so far, like I said, to me, I thought this thing had been around for a long time just because it looks so polished, so you guys are definitely on the right track, but thanks for sharing the insights, obviously, with everyone.
For sure. Happy to do it, man. So great to have a chance to do that. Thanks for reaching out and getting this set up. This is awesome. Love what you're up to. Thanks for doing that. And yeah, man, it's been a blast.
Yeah, visit Duncan and Stone, everyone, and hit up Garrett on LinkedIn. I'll put all the links in the show notes.
Good deal. Go check us out.
Thanks, Garrett.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Joe. See ya.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Experience Curve. Please take the time to share this podcast with a friend or colleague to help get the word out about my show.